If you don't know Pete, you will be impressed here in a moment. Very knowledgeable guy.
Means I'm old.
Well, and so he's been involved with the Tech Titans and a lot of activities here in North Texas for a number of years. Pete is the principal of the tech industry consulting firm called Commence Advisors, and he is a partner in the Future Cities organization that produces the annual North Texas Smart Cities Summit, which is coming up at UTD. Is it September 19th or October?
It is September 19th, and we have a wonderful, it's a wonderful event. We have a lot of things planned. Our platinum sponsor this year is a company called AT&T. I don't know if you've heard of them. So it's their FirstNet group, so we're going to be talking about that. And our keynote speaker is going to be TJ Kennedy, who is committed. So TJ Kennedy is the, he just resigned. He's the former president of FirstNet. So.
This is a full day event. This is the second annual. We had it last year at UTD in one of the new facilities there. This is in the even the newer conference.
This is in the brand stinking new conference room in the front of the school. It's beautiful. UTD's done a fabulous job. They did a fabulous job.
It was great. Yes,
last year, and they're fabulouser now.
Highly recommend you come if you can.
I'm in
take for the day.
As we go along, right?
Come join us because it'll be a very powerful and informative event. Pete goes to many different conferences as speaker and oftentimes the keynote or advisor or panels for them as well. He's been in telecommunications for over 36 years and brings a lot of IT and telecommunications experience to us. Now, formerly, Pete was the U.S. General Manager for Enterprise Mobility Enablement at Samsung Telecommunications America. And prior to that, he was with Accenture and Capgemini. Pete's president of this new company that he's going to be talking about today, IoT America. It's dedicated to delivering the best-in-class Internet of Things services and solutions to rural America with a unique go-to-market strategy and IoT as a service concept. Now, I want to welcome Pete DeNagy, if you would.
So you know the beautiful thing is when you're the president of the company servicing rural America, you can instantiate a policy that you never have to wear anything but jeans again. Okay? So, but though somebody said wear your boots, and the answer is they're at home. So, first off, what you're getting today is a secret because IoT America doesn't launch until, Amy, when do we launch?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So we formally open the doors tomorrow. Okay? So you're getting this before. So Ed, I told Ed he can record. I told Ed you can't do that anything to the press releases. So don't take any photos, Jackson. Okay? So we'll go from there. So there's a big opportunity in rural America, right? You know, rural communities have tremendous IoT application capabilities, right? Sensors, big data analytics to grow and impact their businesses. Okay? Big data and analytics are the keys to making IoT actionable. You know, we always talk about the communication elements, the sensor elements. IoT doesn't exist without data. Okay? If you're not talking about the cloud infrastructure, how you parse the data, how you go forward and derive value from the data, you're not talking about IoT. Okay? So it's hot. Ag tech has some of the most compelling and dramatic ROIs. And there are a plethora, that's my big word for the day, of solutions that exist today, right? So rural America is poised for growth. The good news, we are copiously going to go through every single one of the solutions on this slide. Maybe not. But you can see, and this is actually a 2-year-old slide, you know, this is just illustrative of the fact that there are so many types of elements available for rural America in precision agriculture, in, you know, deep analytics, you know, robotics, drones, sensors, farm management software, irrigation, right? A lot of value. But no one's connected. Why is no one connect? Jackson, I'm picking on you today. You're from the American Telephone and Telegraph. Oh, they're not that name anymore. They changed it just to AT&T. You're from AT&T. Why is rural America not connected?
Connectivity, wireless, lack of
Lack.
bad fiber.
So, the problem that hinders rural America, they lack connectivity. Broadband connectivity, wireless connectivity. Okay? But these rural businesses want more. They need to connect their fields, their facilities, their livestock, their workflow, the oil field. And they want to do this to increase productivity. So the good news is there are lots of rural broadband carriers now with government funding providing rural connectivity. And when you do that, you can put Wi-Fi in. And you can go 200 meters around the farm with, with a good solid Wi-Fi, instantiation. The problem is, that doesn't work real well on a 10,000 acre farm. Okay? So now let's say you're AT&T. I'm Ted, sorry, I know your boss. So good news is, they're getting there, especially if you're on an I road, right? If you're on I-80, you'll get some coverage. And the coverage will look like this. They'll put in 3G, 4G, and they'll cover the farmhouses and many of the parts they're in. But they're not going to cover the back 40. Okay? And you're still not going to drive all the value. So, Jackson, why haven't you put in?
Usage and return on investment.
Right. So one, cows don't use cell phones.
Nice picture.
Do you know how hard it is to find a picture of a cow using a cell phone? Secondly, LTE infrastructure can exceed $1 million. Right? So it's all about ARPU to a carrier, right? ARPU is the driving, is a driving force, right? Which is average revenue per user, right? If you got a field and you have cows, they're not going to make calls. The business case has been poor. I'll give you an example. This one, by the way, you're off the hook on this example. There is a company in the Permian Basin called XOM. Gary, you know who XOM is? Gary?
XTO.
I mean, that's right. Right. Who?
XTO is a division of Exxon.
Yeah, they're the network division. They asked Verizon to put in LTE infrastructure in the Permian Basin. Do you know what Verizon told them? No. They told Exxon, no. This is Exxon. This is not like, Joe's company. This is Exxon. Because there's no ROI. You can't make money doing it. Not with traditional infrastructure. So what's the issue? What do we need to solve, right? Well, farms and ranches have crisis problems. There are fewer farmers in America. Their workforce is aging. There is less land being farmed. Natural resources are stressed. There's increased foreign competition. Yes, there is a lot of foreign competition in agriculture. The import to export ratio is very large, and a lot of it has to do with how we process data. And yields need to improve. So, if you make claims, you need to bring facts. These are the statistics from the 2012 census. The Census Bureau runs farm data every 5 years. So you should ask me, if these are the 2012 numbers, why don't you bring the 2017 numbers, right? Because you all can do math. And the answer is the 2017 census has been taken, and it takes the census about 18 months to compile the numbers. So in early 19, the 17 numbers will come out. So unfortunately, we have to live with the 12 numbers. Okay, farmers are down, acreage is down, the average farm size is up. It's actually 504 acres now. Okay, and 40.8%, you can take this slide, it's all public information. 40.8% of the U.S. is considered farmland by the USDA. It's almost half the United States. It's basically everything that is left of the Mississippi River, right? And oh, by the way, if you look at the coverage maps of the 4 largest carriers in America, you will also find that the coverage left of the Mississippi River, by and large, stinks. Okay?
We like to call it spotty.
So, It's not your fault. I'm not blaming you. You have to run a business. You know, it's spotty, right? It's intermittent. Some people call it fly over America, right? You know, so, but that's where your crops are grown, folk. So, yet agricultural products, you know, from a value perspective, rose in those 5 years 32.8% to almost 400 billion. It's now over 500 billion. So it's a $500 billion a year industry, and it's relatively recession proof because by and large, good times people eat. In bad times, people eat because people have to eat. And there are resource problems in rural America. Did you know, I didn't know this, I grew up in the farms in Manhattan and not ones in Kansas, okay? So I'm a native New Yorker who grew up in Philadelphia where they play good football. And yes, I'm an Eagles fan. So Paul knows this all too well because he actually came over to my house for the Super Bowl. So
it was hard to watch as a Dallas Cowboys.
So anyway, so 70% of all water is used by agriculture. So 70%. So if we have more people and less farmland, and we gotta grow more crops, do you know what we can't make any more of? We can't make more water. Which is why some days the Colorado River right now is a trickle. We have to be more efficient. So farmers need to do more with less. Moisture, soil, integrity, weather patterns, and timing. By the way, here's a big problem. There are 7.1 billion people in the world today. By 2050, there'll be 9 billion. By the way, they ought to eat. All of them. Otherwise, we're going to have unhappy times. Livestock, right? He's cute, right? Cute pig. Did you know that in the United States, pork is the #1 animal crop? Did you know that the average pig has a lifespan of 165 days? So my title is wrong because clearly, you know, they have 100% mortality rate. Okay? It should say premature mortality, right? Prematurely, 12% of the swine crop does not make it to processing. Okay? A hog, fully dressed, which is what they call it, is 275 pounds and yields $300 per hog, wholesale. If there are 115 million pigs at any given time, and they cycle 165 days, which means you get 2 crops a year, okay, so that's 230 million pigs, and you lose 10% of them, to 23 million pigs at $300 a pig, that's a big problem. So if you can actually alleviate premature swine mortality, you have a large ROI on this. And by the way, right, why do they have this type of mortality rate? So pigs are in pens, 200, 400, okay? They're very susceptible to disease. And what happens is if one pig gets sick, they all get sick. And then you wipe out 200 at a shot. And that's catastrophic for a farmer. So what could happen if you could put a sensor in the pig's ear that takes the femoral vein that goes from the ear to the heart, and you could actually measure the pig's blood pressure, the pig's temperature, the pig's stress level? Could you significantly decrease the mortality? Could you see a 1/10 of 1 degree spike in temperature and isolate pigs to save the entire crop? Could you actually go forward and treat that pig so it lives? By the way, in Asia, where they eat a lot more pork than we do here, there's a saying that you want to eat a happy pig, right? And I never knew what that meant, but pigs are very susceptible to stress, and you actually can have a pig live to slaughter, but it's so stressed out that the meat's gray and it's unsellable. So you actually also want to keep them happy. Who knew? It's a big problem. By the way, the same problem exists with sheep, cows, bison, alpaca, turkey. We actually have a project that we're working on right now in Alabama for a catfish farm. So let's talk about IoT America, okay? We are launching tomorrow a rural Internet of Things managed service that enables farmers and ranchers to let benefit and leverage all the benefits, reduce the complexities of ag tech for a monthly fee. So how many people think IoT is easy in this room? IoT is not easy. Now, it's not that hard, and IoT has been around since the 1950s, okay? So let's it's not anything mystical. It was invented here in Dallas. Some company named Texas Instruments invented something called a sensor in 1950. It said, poof, there's IoT, right? If you want to go historically about it. How many TI alum are in the room? 2. You would agree with that sentiment, right? Okay. So it's been around forever, right? Just like cloud computing. I remember doing Fortran on punch cards and putting it on the mainframe that was time shared. That's cloud computing. That was in the 70s. So it's been around a long time. But the integration of the entire data flow cycle is complex, and it's more so complex for a farmer or a rancher who don't do this every day. So basically, our vision, value proposition is to put together an entire, cradle-to-grave solution where we manage the connectivity, we instantiate a catalog of vetted applications with all the components sourced and the ROI is calculated, and we provide connectivity on a wireless basis, okay, to help them through that. Which means if they are, let's say, in Frisco, Texas, and AT&T has good service, you know what we're going to do? We're going to stand up wireless sensors from AT&T, okay, LP-WAN, sensors, and hook them up and manage it. If they are not where there's connectivity, we're going to manage that too. We want to be single source throughout all of America to go forward and stand up connectivity, solutions, management, and big data for rural America. So we talked about complexity. If you're standing up an IoT infrastructure, this is actually what you have to do. Again, like the farm slide earlier, we're going to copiously go through all the steps of standing up an IoT platform for an individual customer. You got to research the solutions, validate them, pick the sensors, run a POC, schedule installation, deploy, and then you have to have ongoing maintenance. Okay? It's pretty complex. We do it for you. We'll put together a catalog, we'll order the solutions, we'll schedule the installation, we'll manage and run it. Farmer has to show up and just put it in. Because basically we have to take the complexity out of this so we can drive the value. So we're going to market. I'm going to tell you how we're going to go to market. So we are going to market through MSA Partners. So we are going to go primarily through MTCA members, which is the Rural Broadband Association, and the CCA members, which are all the wireless companies in America except for Verizon and AT&T. Sorry, you guys aren't in the CCA. And the reason for that, Verizon and AT&T do a great job in IoT today, okay? However, the small companies are the ones that actually service the farms, okay? So, Western Carolina Cellular, or Pine Belt in Alabama, or, C-Spire, are in places where they dominate because there's not enough ARPU to make Verizon and AT&T happy. So the first thing we did, because we know some people, we're old, we went to US Cellular, who is the #5 carrier in the United States. And we pitched them and we said to them, hey, we want to go and do this because if we look at your footprint, you're really strong in the Corn Belt. And their biggest city that they service in the United States is Tulsa, Oklahoma. okay? That is the largest US cellular city that they service, right? And we said, we want to go and pitch this to you. Well, they liked it so much that they did two things. One, they bought 10% of our company. Two, they forced us, and I think forced, Amy is our CFO, I'd say forced is correct. They predicated the investment on the fact that they would sign a BOBO agreement with us to resell our services in all 700 of their retail outlets in the United States and their entire enterprise sales team. So in US Cellular territory, we will be IoT America powered by US Cellular. Not saying that we can't use other carriers, but we can, but they get rights of first refusal in their territories. Okay, so if they're standing up, and by the way, they still have 2G. So if they have 2G, or 3G, or LTE applications, or managed Wi-Fi, or Cat M1, and someday they'll instantiate NB-IoT, we'll use those services if it's available. If it's not, we have another direction, okay? We're also working with the CCA companies, and we have several CCA companies that are waiting for the MSA, which we can't give them until we launch tomorrow, okay? We're also working with the NTCA, which is the Rural Broadband Association. Yes, I know NDCA does not spell out rural broadband. They used to be the National Telecommunication and Carrier Association. It's all the small telcos, but they don't do that anymore, so they're the Rural Broadband Association. And we're also working with the NRECA, which are the Rural Electrical Co-ops. Please note, the operative word is, we're working in rural America. We are trying to service the underserved. We're not trying to compete with Verizon and AT&T. We can't do that. And by the way, we want to manage and work with the people who need it the most. Okay? It's really simple. We're happy to work with AT&T and Verizon, by the way. So this is not a competitive play. This is all ships rise at high tide. So if cell towers cost too much and Wi-Fi doesn't go far, how do you cover it? Well, we're going to use LP-WAN where there's no coverage. Okay? LP-WAN uses free 900 megahertz spectrum, which by the way has good propagation and goes pretty darn far, especially in farmlands. Okay? I would venture to say that 900 megahertz is not a great solution in Dallas because of all the interference. But very few cows use baby monitors. Although there are applications for it, but the 900 megahertz devices that you typically see deployed in rural America are not. And the ability to instantiate and put in a gateway, a LoRa gateway, is very, or a weightless gateway, very inexpensive. Okay? So we're using LoRa predominantly. If somebody comes to us and says, I want to use weightless, I want to use Sigfox, I want to use Nginx, right? RPMA, UGM, weightless P or N, we're okay with that. We don't really care. But if we're going to go and deploy, we're going to deploy weightless. There's a strategic, we're going to deploy LoRa. There's a strategic reason for it. We're not saying one technology is better than the other, but there is 4 times the traction in LoRa, and there is a huge proliferation of sensors already being built in LoRa, okay? And there is a lot of sensors now being developed that actually will have dual radio chipsets on them for both NB, IoT, and LoRa. So you can actually put one sensor in that will go either way. So we don't really care, okay? You can put a gateway in for $1,000. Can't manage it, you can't do anything, you can't install it, but for $1,000. And that gateway will take a 10-kilometer radius, okay, to go forward and drive the network. And there's no airtime. So remember this farmhouse? One LoRa gateway with a 5 to 10 kilometer range will cover 75,000 acres. Yes, he just said Jesus, and he's with AT&T, okay? If I'm working with the broadband carriers who has run fiber to this farmhouse, I run PoE to their router in the farmhouse we cover the whole farm, and maybe some farms next to it. If I'm in the suburbs of Butte, Montana, which by the way are not that, built out like Frisco, where I live, right? I could put a LoRa gateway, or potentially 3 LoRa gateways in the city, cover the entire city for all smart city applications. By the way, we've trademarked it. You know how everybody talks about smart cities, like DIA downtown, you have the Smart City Initiative. We've trademarked Smart Town. Because it's not about the city, it's about the town. Small towns want the same thing. They want parking solutions. They want trash bin solutions. They want solutions to go forward and handle their LP tanks. So this is a small listing, incomplete, of all the catalog services that we're going to be providing for agriculture, infrastructure, livestock, smart town. Yes, sir. Yeah.
How likely going to be a fiber to the farm house in the first place?
So that's a great question. So right now, 16% of all American farms, I know these statistics are way too well set. 16% of farms do not have broadband connectivity. And the FCC defines broadband connectivity at 25 megabits per second. Okay? So there are many, many programs that are run by the government to subsidize fiber construction. Okay? Connect America 2, right now, you guys participate in Connect America 2, okay? Is specifically targeted for running fiber to rural America. And you guys use it too, right? As you should, right? So you go and you apply for your grants. As a matter of fact, in July, there's a huge reverse auction, okay, on all the census blocks. And there are many WISPAs, wireless internet service providers. WISPA is, and that's the association, probably we're working with the WISPA Association too, right? Many WISPs are also participating in that. So they're providing wireless broadband. We need from the gateway, I need PoE. PoE could be connection to a broadband router, an LTE modem, a 3G modem, truth be told, because the packets are small, right? And, or, in the worst case scenario, if there's no electricity and there's no internet, happy to run it off satellite.
What is the bandwidth you need out of that gateway? It seems like you need a simple fixed wireless can do the trick.
Fixed wireless worth like $1 million. As a matter of fact, if we have, like, let's say, a 4-mile shot, okay, to where we know broadband is, okay, we're happy to put in solar panels and then run a laser connection to the, as you can derive the through a laser. So we can do a laser shot. Yeah, because LoRa, LP WAN, very small packet, right? As you know how MB is architected, it's a very small packet. LoRa, Weightless, Edgenew, Sigfox are much smaller, 100 byte packets. Which means you're not going to do voice, you're not going to do video, but you are going to know that the pH is 102.6, okay, or the temperature is 102.6, or the pH is 6.3, or the bin is full or empty, or the cow's out the barn, or the gate's unopened, or the smoke detector's going off, or the bin's full, or you need to go and deliver LP gas, or someone's in the parking lot. It's a great application for about 60% of all IoT.
What's the ARPU per farm?
The ARPU, you don't measure it in ARPU anymore, right? Because basically we're making a livestock and crop into ARPU. So it depends on the application.
So your monthly charge per farm is
So
10,000, 100,000?
That's a great question. I'm going to hold that in the parking lot.
I think you ought to take it as a per pig.
Yeah, so it's, so average revenue per swine, I guess, right? So anyway, it depends on your application. It's, as a matter of fact, in your financial reports, you don't report your IoT numbers as ARPU anymore.
Right.
Okay? And nobody should, because it's not calculable like that. You get crushed on the street. Okay? You've probably all seen a schema like this, how the network architecture works. get a network server, you get, connectivity, and you're either gonna go and you're gonna use, cellular or LoRa, and you're gonna go after the sensors, okay? One of the really good things about LPWAN technology is it doesn't have the same electrical characteristics of LTE. So one of the problems with LTE is that it's continually polling the endpoint. Are you on? Are you on? Are you on? Are you on? Well, that diminishes battery life. In LPWAN technology, that comes off. So now it's on a request basis, or a timing basis, or a scheduled send basis, right? So battery lives on sensors can be anywhere from 2 to 10 years, depending on the application. That's really important when you're burying the sensor 6 inches under the ground on a farm, and you're gonna forget where you put it, okay? Because you don't wanna be digging up the sensor to go and drop and replace the battery, okay? What you wanna be doing when it dies, you just wanna be going and burying a new sensor, okay?
Hey, can I ask a question about that actually?
You may.
Does your managed service include support for
Yes.
sensor management as well?
It does,
Okay.
absolutely. So I would be remiss if I didn't actually show a complete LPWAN architectural slide. Ed, you've probably seen this exact slide
Once or twice, yeah.
once or twice, right? So on the left, you have the 3 GPP technologies, 2G, 3G, 4G, and under 4G, then you have NB-IoT, Cat-M, Cat-0, Cat-1, NB-IoT, 5G, okay? This does not compete with LTE. This does not compete with 4G. This does not compete with 5G, right? As a matter of fact, it doesn't compete with Cat-1, because Cat-1 can send a meg. We're not measuring in bytes, we're talking about 1 million bytes, okay? Cat-M1 is designed quite well for data in transit, okay? LPWAN can handle some motion, but not very effectively. And candidly, it doesn't do location terrific, right? There is a spec that with LoRa, that you can do LoRa triangulation with 3 gateways, and you can get to about 60 meters of accuracy, okay? Which is really good if you want to know if the cow is not on the pasture anymore, okay? But it's really bad if you want to do real deep precision stuff, okay? And then, of course, you'll see in the LPWAN market, you have Sigfox, you have NB, you have LoRa, and you have all the weightless standards, as well as RPMA and STAR. Okay, we don't care which technology we use on this entire map. If we have to go and put it in, we're going to put in LoRa. If we have a customer who comes to us and says, we want to do weightless, have at it. We'll manage anything. This is how our LoRa architecture works. Okay? So you have the LoRa sensor, you have the LoRa gateway. You connect the gateway either by broadband or cellular into our cloud services where we run app servers. We have a big data instance. By the way, we're probably using Cassandra. You're a big data guy. Yes, look at that. Good choice, right, Steve?
I love it.
So, and we're going to go and instantiate to mobile apps. Okay, so we're actually developing a UI. This is way cool, and I can't show you this yet. But one of the biggest problems with IoT is the fact that you need a solution back end, right? So we're going to work with all the solution providers in our catalog. And we're going to take the data into our cloud instance, and we're going to do an API out to their solution. So they're going to do a RESTful API call into the database, derive the data, pull it into their solution, and they can expose it into their application. Well, the problem is, a lot of people want to put in sensors, don't want to put in solutions. So we're going to instantiate a UI that allows you to have an active tile front, okay, that you can actually read your sensors right on your iPad. And you can group them and manage them without a solution. That's another conversation. And obviously, why haven't people done this before? Well, it's hard to get big data scientists in rural America, okay? They're not gonna, you know, sourcing the solutions is tough, right? I gotta tell you, we're having conversations with solution providers all the time, and, you know, a lot of people have written a lot of great solutions, and they're all like, but why do I wanna go on your tag catalog? And I said, because we're gonna be reaching millions of farmers, and we have the go-to-market strategy built up. But why do I wanna do that? So some companies, small companies, don't understand the value. We've talked to a lot of them. We're clearly, once we launch and we're public and we're publicized, I think that's gonna come. You know, candidly speaking, we wanna go and integrate with Flow. We want to go and integrate, you know, with Verizon's platforms. We don't care. You know, it's all good by us. We're providing professional services, analytics, the cloud hosting expertise, and all this stuff, and it's really hard to do from a small carrier / rural broadband carrier. Average rural broadband carrier has 29 employees. Average rural broadband carrier has 3,000 customers. They're not going to stand this up. They can't afford to. The average data scientists, Steve, you work for UTD. How much are your master's students in big data getting out of school?
I unfortunately don't know that number, but I'm sure it's in several sets of six
I'm
figures.
on the big data. I'm on the advisory board at SMU.
You answer the question probably
Okay.
better than me.
It's $200,000 a year with a master's degree out of SMU. And I'm sure UTD is every bit of that. Okay, I tell kids if you want to, you know, make money coming out of school, analytics, big data, go for it. You'll make more money than God right now. Okay, it was like back in the 90s when you were a CCIE and you made more money than God. It was a good thing. Okay? You asked this question. Who asked the question about managed services? We are offering broadband connectivity, 7x24 managed monitoring for the sensors and gateways, managed solutions, data archiving and storage. Wow, the door opened behind the screen. It's like, and legs appeared. Data archiving management solutions. We're also providing resale of solutions, resale services, consulting services, implementation, development, and custom analytics. Next week, I still go and talk at some conferences. I'm chairing the Internet of Manufacturing Conference in Chicago next week. Afterwards, I'm flying out to, with our CEO, Dan Croft, we're flying to Denver, where we have 6 hours of strategic meetings with Arrow, we are partnering with Arrow to be our strategic, and we've got a lot of meetings with Arrow, to be our strategic supplier of all sensors and solutions. So in our catalog, you'll be able to go point, click, buy right out of Arrow. Okay, and on top of that, I will tell you also, we've had some very deep strategic conversations with another chip company, Intel. Probably heard of them. Intel's very excited about this concept as well. We were talking about FCC money. So we were at the CCA National Conference, and Mignon Clyburn was the keynote speaker. So we're there. She came up to us, and we had a 20-minute conversation with Mignon. And so we actually have been invited to discuss our entire project with her and her staff. And I don't know if you're familiar with who she is. She's one of the 5 commissioners of the FCC, although she just retired. But we're still going to see the FCC anyway. It's all set up. So, she is, the FCC is very interested in what we're doing, because we obviously help propagate broadband in a different way to rural America. We've been asked to help and work on the reverse auctions. So we've been very busy. We're also talking with a lot of the other federal agencies as well. So that's a little bit about IoT America. Somebody asked how we're going to market and what we're doing. So we don't sell connectivity, okay? There are lots of people who can sell connectivity, okay? If you're in a carrier location and you want, LPWAN, capabilities from your carrier, by all means. What we are, we will manage the endpoints we will manage the solution, we will manage the services, and we do it on a flat monthly fee per sensor. Okay, our fee is very simple. It's our rack rate is $1 per sensor per month. 7x24 heartbeat service. Okay, with all the back end. Okay, if you do not have connectivity, we will, at no charge, stand up a LoRa gateway. Now you have to pay for your connectivity into the LoRa gateway, and you have to pay for the installation of it, because we're not going to do that. But we'll own the gateway, and we'll put it up, and we'll handle the connectivity. So our flat monthly fee is for a minimum of 200 sensors. Okay? So we're not going to do it, we're not going to go stand it up for one, because, I mean, there's not a lot of point. So we're not, if you have a 40-acre farm, you're probably not our, if you have 6 headed cattle, you're probably not our, our customer. Now, we're talking to a large dairy that has a lot of, you probably see them in the supermarket, they make sour cream. Okay, they have hundreds of thousands of heads of cattle. And yes, we'll probably do that less than $1 per sensor per month. But there's a lot of scale there. Okay. We're a managed services company that's providing the solution, that's taking the complexity out. We believe we are friendly with every carrier in America. Okay, we want to work with every carrier in America. We picked the rural ones first because, quite candidly, they're easy. I know when I had conversations with Mark Bartolomeo at Verizon, who runs IoT, you know Mark, don't you? He's like, we put this on our IMS core, and until they see something like this work, they're going to be skeptical about it. If I go to Zito, who runs smart cities, who I know, and I know much pretty well, or I still know Triano, he's my neighbor, okay, but he's in strategy now, I believe. He left. So, once we're up and running, I'm sure we want to have the conversations with AT&T and Verizon. But the small carriers right now are, when can I get an MSA? Because the problem is, they don't have IoT departments. For US Cellular, they're excited because in essence, we're going to be their IoT division. Because they're behind. They've not invested like AT&T or Verizon in IoT. They have network infrastructure, they don't have the solution chops. And what our goal is, are to cover all these farms. We're so far behind, like Europe. Europe is so far ahead of us. One of the big things, have you heard of the big farm to market initiative in Europe? In Europe, they can actually trace your beef from birth to plate. Okay? For pigs, they call it squeal to meal. But they do, honest to God. Okay? And you get a premium for knowing this. We're working with a company. Are you all familiar with EMR systems? Okay, electronic medical records. Okay, we're working with a company that's doing an AEMR system, an animal electronic medical records, that can actually take what a grower does and take it from the sow to the soup. So it could actually go forward and look at the entire supply chain and livestock of the life cycle of that livestock to processing, and from processing to transportation to to the supermarket. Because farmers will get more money for their crop. And oh, by the way, many European and Asian companies will not take our produce because we can't tell them this information, and they require it. So we're not competitive. Yes, Farouk?
Is that part of the blockchain thing?
For the solution provider? Yeah, they have blockchain element to it, yes, absolutely. We're not standing up blockchain per se, okay, but the solution providers we work with are. And yeah, they're actually instantiating blockchain, for that element. So this is augmentative. So one of the things that US Cellular liked about this, when we met with their SVP of infrastructure, and they said, well, you know, we're going to be putting in NB-IoT and blah, blah, blah. Great, excellent. This augments. This has a different use case. Because NB-IoT gives you a 250K, you know, data packet. This gives you 100. Not 100K, 100 bits.
So, Peter, are there plenty of squeal to meal apps and everything out there, or are you guys gonna have to be doing a lot of app development yourselves?
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of apps on the market
So
today.
you're
One of the
system integrating most of it.
Yes, one of the big problems, so if you run a solutions company, right? One of the big things that you have to worry about is SG&A, right? How do I pay for the sales effort? Okay? So if the farms are 3,000 acres each, and you're gonna knock on doors, and you're gonna try to see the farmer, and there's a really, really good chance the farmer's out in the field, how's your effort gonna go? Probably poorly. So many of these solutions and software companies have been, you know, they're growing, but they're growing slowly. Since we're partnering with the people that actually provide the broadband and have all these folks as customers anyway, you know, and oh, by the way, we're doing rev share with them, okay? Because we do rev share with all our carrier partners on every item that we have. They're invested. And oh, by the way, everybody wants to be more sticky with their customers, right? So if the farmer already gets their broadband from the North Dakota Communications Cooperative, by the way, I did not make that one up, okay? We're actually talking to them because the average farm size in North Dakota is 3,000 acres, okay? And they have really poor coverage in North Dakota, by the way, okay? I put it on my bill. I now have, you know, additional revenue, and I can sell them more applications and more services. Because what we're finding is, we'll have a bundle of, you know, a suite of, like, here are 3 applications that are standard, but then they'll go through the catalog and say, oh, I'm going to get a 20% ROI if I do this, order more sensors. Oh, I get 15% more TCO for that, order more sensors, applications and solutions. And by the way, carrier gets 20% forever.
So,
Beat first. You
you
beat his
showed,
body, he beat you.
you showed a slide indicating IoT America managing a bunch of stuff on the right, starting from a cloud service out to your mobile app. And then on the left with the LoRa gateway and the sensors, it said managed by partners. Can you characterize those partners and what the business relationship with them is?
Yeah, so let's start with the NTCA members, right? So we're working with the Rural Broadband Association. We're actually engaged, we've actually already talked to over 100 of them, okay? And they are actually going to stand up the gateway, because they all have bucket trucks. And typically speaking, you don't have to go and put this up on a tower, because Crown Castle or American Tower is going to charge a lot of money to co-locate on one of their towers. You don't have to put it up that high, you put it up on top of the barn.
Put it on Paul's garage.
Yeah, that's right. Paul, you know, it works like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have a direct TV installation model where it goes on a flat panel to a pole. On the pole, you instantiate the gateway with, you know, an antenna array, and then you run a PoE cable into the house and plug it into the DOCSIS 2.3 router. Poof, you go from there. No DOCSIS 2.3 router, PoE cable to electricity, LTE modem.
Okay, so that's installation. Maybe what I'm trying to understand is what you mean by managed.
Right. So we go forward, once we put it in, right, we're gonna go and tell them, your gateway's running, your sensors are sending data. And oh, by the way, we are archiving all the data that comes out of those sensors for 90 days. So then when you have a solution, okay, your solution provider will do an API call into our cloud, retrieve the data that we manage, and pull it out. So when we instantiate every sensor, we pull a lat long on the sensor.
I've lost track of who you is. Is
Yeah.
you the partner or is you the
When when a partner puts a gateway on a house and drops the sensors in the field, okay, and when the partner hooks the PoE in, okay, at that point, okay, the data starts sending, okay, over the network to the IoT America cloud, okay. At that point, okay, a third-party solution provider, okay, let's say it's a irrigation provider, okay, has an irrigation solution, okay, we'll do an API, a RESTful API call into our cloud, because we have tagged via lat long the sensors that are associated to that application, okay, and then we will send the data to a solution provider. We will archive the data for 90 days, okay, and then we get rid of it, because it's not our data. We're storing it for 90 days. You know, you might have heard some data privacy things in your email. Everybody's upping their privacy information, because we don't want to be IoT America Analytica, okay? So then at that point, now by the way, our COLA says we have the data for 90 days. In practice, we're keeping the data for 180, because invariably we know that some farmers are going to say, wait, I need to do one more pull. And it's a revenue opportunity for us, okay? Or we can archive it.
So coming back to manage, if I could, I heard about installation. What about post-installation?
So we do heartbeat on the sensors, okay? So we're pulling the data and we do heartbeat. Because you have to realize these sensors are very small packets of information, right? So you're not going to be going and you're not going to be pulling out, you're not going to be doing bidirectional. And most of these sensors aren't even going to be able to run photo.
So who's going to wrestle with the pigs to detach and attach the sensors?
Farmer.
So that's not part of managed.
No, farmers do that anyway. They tag pigs now. They tag cows now. I can show you the video on how it's done. Okay? Now, we're going to put gateways into the processors too. So when the pigs arrive for processing, we're just going to call it processing, but we're not going to call it what they're going to do. The processor removes the tag very quickly with a knife and sends it back to the farmer, because the battery is going to last 5 years, which is 10 pigs. Okay? And the farmer's going to decouple the, they're going to cut the ear off and send it back. The whole thing. That's what they do now. They don't, the processor doesn't mess with, it's a clip-on unscrew. They use a gun that pierces the ear, like an earring, okay? And you quick screw, and you can do that. Processor's not gonna do that. Processor's gonna go like this, bin, this, bin. That's how they're gonna go retrieve that. Put them in a little bin, send it out. We know some are gonna get damaged. We know some are gonna get broken. That's how they do it. And the farmer does it. Farmer does it anyway.
And if the gateway fails, that's part of the managed service.
That's right. We replace the gateway. That's right. And now if we're managing LTE, we'll do more. Now, I'm surprised. We are 52 minutes in, and none of y'all have asked about security yet. Okay, so we cannot do AES 256-bit encryption because none of the LPWAN standards, except for NB-IoT, will support IPv6 and or that type of schema. We do AES 128. Okay, so we do have a 128.50 algorithm. Okay, which is good enough, and then the deep security is done out of the gateway.
One last question.
Bob.
I saw Haxiat.
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 One of
That's
our
your
partners.
pronoun. They're going to be one of your partners.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you like, I can pass it around. I actually have, did you get that little black in my bag? I have a little black box. No, my bag's right here, right? Where did I put it?
Back here, is this it back here?
Yeah, it's probably on the floor, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's a little black cardboard box in there. So I brought an indoor version of the gateway,
Not your billfold, right?
but not the building.
And leave the cash. I know P carries a lot of cash.
Yeah, I always have, by the way, if you want to rob me,
You
I'm
like that?
really good, because I always have, that's it. Yeah, just, so, not the mail though. So this, right here, this happens to be, they're one of our partners. This happens to be a Haxiet indoor gateway. This is not an outdoor, this is not an IP67 version. This is actually a USB gateway. And this gateway here plugs into a Windows PC. This does not have, so from an expectation, a 10-kilometer range for 20,000 sensors. This will, however, do 20,000 sensors. It only has a 1.2 kilometer radius. Okay, so if you want to do a factory, or you wanted to do an install, you know, you can plug this in your PC. He's busy, he doesn't want to see. You can actually plug that gateway right in. That's sub $200.
Yeah, they're a new innovative company in their own right, so.
Yeah, they're one of our partners.
Good end-to-end solutions.
Yeah, good end-to-end solutions. We're using them.
Good.
By the way, this is also a, yeah, so Nick's a friend. They're doing nice stuff. By the way, this is their, if you've not seen a LoRa chipset, this is their chipset. This is a LoRa radio with an antenna.
$200.
Credit card right over there.
That goes on the peaks yet.
As they take it out.
I mean, it's like this big in a disc, right? But then it's a battery array too. But that's the antenna, the chipset, you put a battery. It uses, that has micro USB, so you can plug it, you know, obviously you're gonna do some sort of a fix it. You can set the chipset anywhere. Haxiet in volume and scale will actually import their software on other people's silicon. They're also talking to Intel.
And then you attach it to the different sensors separately.
Yeah. That's right. So as a matter of fact, you could do LoRa and NB-IoT on the same chipset.
All right, thank you, Pete. Very good.
Can you go to your website to see the news release tomorrow?
No. No, the news release is probably a week or so. The website's still being tweaked. You'll see it under construction if you go there. By the way, it's IoT Americas.
Right there.
.com. By the way, there's a reason why it's plural.
Latin America.
Canada, Mexico. Did you know that 50% of all cows in Mexico are Russell?
50%?
50%. Think of that.
Wow.
Russell.
Awesome. Thank you, Pete. It was awesome. Appreciate you sharing your ideas and your thoughts and your expertise today. This is really good.